one side, he's going to second. He's taking it. Oh my God, on three. They're all
dead. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Beyond the Summit. We've got two best of threes coming up tonight as the World Esports Championship continues. First up on the docket, we've got Titan versus Invasion Esports coming up. After this, it'll be MVP Phoenix versus Johnny's Revenge. Just a quick 8-team single-elim bracket. We're here in the semifinals. We saw the first 4 opening BO3s last night, and we'll see the next round today. I'm Zyori, joined remotely by Blaze. What's up, my friend?
Not too much. Since yesterday, just been expecting some more great Dota from these awesome teams. And looking up a little bit of information on the tournament. Obviously, there's only one qualifier slot for the SEA, but I mean, this is a pretty huge event, all things considered. I mean, the D8TV has been organizing this for a while, and it seems to be a really, really awesome put together LAN event that they're going to be attending. So I can imagine there's a lot of intensity here for each of the teams. Even though there's a lot of stand-ins and such, there's a lot of shuffling going on in the scene as a whole. Everybody wants to come out on top here, and they're going to definitely bring their A game.
Absolutely. And I think it's pretty safe to say that Titan are the favorites here. I got to cast with Winter for the first best of 3 yesterday, and Titan were the heavy favorites. And they performed quite well. They have the fan favoritism here, 64% in their favor on Dota 2 Lounge, 36% in favor of Invasion. According to Winter, no team in SEA should beat Titan right now, at least on paper. They're still rocking their one stand-in, Tootie here in the place of Yamate.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and that's going to be, until things get figured out as far as core players, that's going to be an unfortunate necessity as far as stand-in stuff goes. Like, people are talking about maybe Mushi's coming back and figuring out where he's going to settle. Other solo mid players, DDZ. I think Arrow is going to make sure that they can hang on to him as much as possible. But yeah, that's where a lot of the stand-ins are coming in now, is in those core roles. And there seems to still be a lot of shuffle activity back and forth here. But yeah, the other 4 players, the core players of the team, Titan, they're the best in the business. Obviously, these are guys that made it through TI3 with Team Orange, and they were able to do amazing things there, and of course perform pretty well in TI4. They did get knocked out just before the main stage, but even still, I got a chance to meet some of them at the after party and stuff, and they're really cool guys. They obviously care a lot about the game, are very passionate about it, and we get to see one of the legacies here, Net Sand King. That is if you can put a hero to a player in any situation, like you can talk Burning Anti-Mage and all these other things, but Sand King and Net, I still think is probably the closest synergy as far as player mindset to a single hero. Man, he plays it just amazingly.
Yeah, absolutely. The first player I recognized in SEA was Net. That was the first. Roland, our intern, introduced me. Net Sand King. You need to learn to understand how amazing this is, and I have understood the ways of Net and the magic he works with this hero. He takes hiding in the trees to a whole nother level. And always a treat to see that hero. Most of the other picks here are not too surprising based on what we've seen. Well, yesterday is our only day of evidence, but Shadow Shaman, Tidehunter, and Razor have all made quite the showing. Even these bans as well, all heroes that we're pretty used to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common. People know what's good right now. That's why it's going to be great to see 6.82 wrestle some jimmies and stuff. It's just like switching things up in general is going to be very healthy for the competitive scene and enable people to really come up with more dynamic strategies. But at the same time, we're still in a place where there's still a lot of dynamic potential. We saw an awesome draft from Zephyr in Game 1 of their match against Johnny's Revenge, where they brought in an Abaddon, they had the Death Prophet, the Brewmaster, and stuff like that. And yes, these are all heroes that we value to some degree, but to put them into the early stages of a competitive draft, there's nobody like a Razor, a Shadow Shaman, a Tide. So they're going to take those when they can. The Sand King is the only kind of thumb that sticks out, but you know exactly why they're going to be going for that one.
And whoa. Well, there's a change of pace for us. Third pick, Naga Siren for Team Titan. So probably your carry here, your mid hero, but could also be the support.
Yeah, I haven't seen a support Siren in an extremely long time, so I believe they are just going to be going towards that mid to late game dominance aspect. If Naga Siren picks up a Radiance, pretty much It's very the thing about Shadow Shaman is when he gets into tower range, you're already going to be taking some chunks off of the tower. You might not kill it, but you'll take half of its HP, a third of its HP, something. But in the situation where Naga Siren has her Radiance up, you're always pushing out the waves. Shadow Shaman can't even get to the tower, and then when he does, you can just Song of the Siren and use that time to kill the wards because they're not immune to the effects. So it's a good hero counter, and it's going to enable them to make sure their structures can stay alive. If they couple that with like a tree emperor, actually they wouldn't do it here because of the Sand King pick. But if they could just make sure that their mindset is on keeping their towers alive as long as possible, they're pretty much going to make sure that invasion don't take an inch in this game. Not after the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, and that should be your KYXY hero. He's played a fair bit of Naga Siren recently, so I think you're right. We'll definitely be the carry Naga. Invasion did opt for that third pick Alchemist, and we've seen him make a showing intermittently here between games, mostly in the support role, playing a pretty comparable position to what the Wraith King does, just throwing out stuns and follow-up damage from there. He's been kind of hit or miss, but these tanky core lineups are something that we're getting more and more used to as well. But Invasion will switch it up with a Fairy Dragon. Get to see some of the puck here, presumably in the mid lane.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see what they can get out of that. Catch Gimba probably going to be the one to pick it up here. And this is really just raw initiation potential. You can blink onto a Naga Siren, prevent the song, and follow that up with a Hex or Shackles or anything like that. You're going to be able to net a nice kill on her. So Naga Siren might have to prioritize something like Manta Style a little bit earlier in her build-up just to make sure that she can dispel that silence. So I would expect probably a Radiance BOT into Manta build-up, and that would allow her to have that necessary survivability to escape rough situations. But yeah, even still, like if it's Puck versus Naga, he provides some AoE damage, he provides some nice control, and that's something that you want against this team. But now we see the Disruptor coming out. The one thing they're very weak to is silences, and he is certainly going to bring that with his ultimate.
Yes, absolutely. And just a good bit of utility as well with Glimpse, and he pairs pretty nicely with the Sand King early on. Thunderstrike does a lot of damage in the early levels. For a level 1 ability, it has a pretty high damage output. So there is some kill potential in these lanes, depending on how they want to run the Naga Siren. For some reason, I feel like they'll be doing a safe lane Naga here. Razor in the mid, and then it's going to be all about the off lane for this final pick from Titan. Invasion Esports ban out the Elder Titan, a hero we haven't seen much of, but one that can pack quite the punch.
Oh, definitely. If you've seen Ohio's Elder Titan, you know exactly why they banned that thing out. They actually picked Titan as, like, when he fell out of favor with all the nerfs that he received and everybody stopped picking him, Titan was the only team for 2 months straight that still kept picking him and still kept dominating with him because of just how much experience they'd garnered when he was really flavor of the month. So they can play that hero extremely effectively, and it can counteract heroes that Invasion likes to play. Like if they wanted to pick up maybe a Morphling here or something like that to finalize their draft, then that would obviously be a hero that with natural order can counteract a huge aspect of that hero on the high base armor through agility morph. But no matter what they go for, ET's a solid ban. And, you know, when you consider the fact that Naga Siren's sleep sets up all of his abilities so perfectly, it's a risk they don't want to take.
Yeah, a good thing to point out as well, some natural synergy between those heroes. And there's the Morphling, hit the nail right on the head. Natural Order, of course, counters the Morphling so hard because he gets rid of 100% of base armor. And Morphling has all that agility, which translates to base armor, not added armor. So all that tankiness that Morphling gets just goes right out the window. And it's pretty disgusting how much damage an Elder Titan can do to a Morphling in team fights. But alas, Invasion won't get countered here, and we'll see what Titan respond with their final pick.
10 seconds remaining.
Difficult pick here. Like you said, Naga Siren has a good chance of being in the safe lane position that would leave Ohio's hero to be under consideration here.
Could do something like a Centaur here for some long-range initiation. They've got a Dark Seer in the pool. I don't know how comfortable Titan are running the Dark Seer, but there's some big ultimate wombo there between the Disruptor Naga and the Sand King.
Yeah, I can see a lot of value in that, honestly. Ohio plays some pretty good Dark Seer. It really just kind of seems to be whatever they expect to get out of this hero. Like, he also likes to play a lot of Nyx Assassin, which is very uncommon nowadays, but he still does it all the time and is able to find a lot of cool support pickoffs, so maybe that could be a problem for the Shadow Shaman, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I think in this position, since they don't need any more cores, they don't need a Lone Druid or anything like that, that the Dark Seer is probably the most probable.
Well, we'll see in about 30 seconds or so. Trying to think of other offlaners. They don't really have I guess Sand King will be their initiator here. I mean, Net will undoubtedly go for a fast Blink Dagger, and usually around that 10 or 11 minute mark, you'll see it pop out, especially if he grabs an early Illusion Rune. You'll see him stacking those camps all at once like we did yesterday, and usually he's surprisingly active and can farm pretty darn fast, but no, they go with the Bristleback, a nice tanky frontliner.
It's a pretty cool pickup here. The Razor, Eye of the Storm, and Naga Siren's Riptide does provide some negative armor, so the fact that Bristleback synergizes that with his Viscous Nasal Goo, as well as, of course, his massive amount of physical damage, it's going to be quite effective against targets other than the Morphling. The Shadow Shaman, the Alchemist, very low base armor, so those guys can be focused down very quickly with physical output. Along with that, he is going to be on the dire side, so Ancients are going to be something that he controls a lot more effectively than Ghost does, even though that's a core aspect of both of those heroes' kind of comeback mechanics. So we'll see how well he can survive on the offlane against such a deadly combo as that Shadow Shaman and Alchemist, but if he can indeed survive, find some levels, and farm up the stacks, he should be a very relevant core hero towards the mid-game.
Yeah, definitely. So initial impressions here, Blaze. Do you like one draft over the other?
I mean, I think Invasions is like the classic draft. Like, you look at this and you're like, okay, well, they got the initiation, they've got get one Blink Dagger, and they can start just rolling over people. They've got push, they've got kills, and they've got carry. It's just like 1, 2, 3. But with Titan, they have something that's a little awkward towards the early game. So it comes down to execution. I would never doubt that Titan have the potential to execute with a draft like this, but when you just look at it, Razor, Naga Siren, Bristleback, they don't bring enough to the early game to call this a draft win. So by default, I would say they're on the losing end just a little bit, but that doesn't mean in the slightest that they're at a disadvantage when it comes to the game itself.
Yeah, for sure. Invasion will certainly be more aggressive. I mean, both teams have a lot of good team fight, but Titan will come online just a little bit later, and we'll see how much space they can create for that Naga. The 4 Protect 1 Naga Siren style of play has fallen out of form a little bit with all these death ball strategies that have risen to popularity, just because by the time Naga comes on, the last few Naga games I've seen, she'll get the Radiance, and then that's great, but she still needs to farm for another 10, 15 minutes after she picks up the Radiance before she really gets scary and those illusions get tanky and just take over the game. And if you have a pushing lineup, you can usually do crippling damage, at least be pushing your first, second lane of racks by about that time. So see how it works out. Invasion with not a huge amount of pushing power, but roster wards can be pretty potent, especially if he finds some early experience. But alas, Titan with some connection issues here, it would appear.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everything sorted out, ping and reconnections, and they'll be ready to rumble in just a quick bit. But one thing I want to point out is even though Titan have this really greedy draft, the 2 heroes that they have picked up as far as support have a lot of potential to make things happen. Yeah, even as early as level 6 or before, they could definitely be finding some kills and even winning fights like single-handedly. Like a Disruptor ultimate inside Kinetic Field just at level 6 makes such a large impact on a fight that you can really turn things around in your favor extensively. So when you take that into consideration, that I think Titan's strength as a team, no offense to Ohio, no offense as well to KOXY, but I think their strongest aspect is their support play, and X and Net are going to be the ones to watch here.
Yeah, and I think if Titan can just survive the initial laning phase without too many heavy losses and get some of that initial farm, they'll be okay, especially once they get that Blink Dagger on Net. That tends to be the time when he can make some of those big plays happen and create some space for the rest of his teammates. There also is natural synergy across their draft with the Song of the Siren sets up for pretty easy Static Storm Kinetic Field combos and, of course, Epicenters on top of that. So, what is the interaction between Eye of the Storm and Song of the Siren? Does it stack negative armor charges while they're asleep, or does it just not do anything? Is it? So I know, like, Weave, for example, will work through Song of the Siren.
Yeah, that's a nice comparison, but I think that Eye of the Storm will not take effect because it is like it targets to do damage.
Right.
And, it's
okay.
it's an offensive spell in that aspect.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't sure if it would still strike and go minus armor without doing the damage, though. That would be kind of an odd interaction, but. Well, yeah. Hopefully we'll get to see it in person here firsthand before too long. Guess we can take this time to look at any good cosmetics here. There's no Sing Sing this game, so I don't know.
Well, here's one to look at here. The Razor helmet. How do you feel about this thing? The one that they released with TI4.
Ooh.
I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest, as far as Immortals go.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they've gotten a little out of control with some of the cosmetics. This one,
The golden one especially that we saw like on the main stage. You see it like right in the
yeah.
big picture there. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah, when I first saw it was a little jarring. I've kind of gotten used to it now, so I don't hate it quite as
Sure,
much.
sure.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't like the ones that change the way things look a lot. I really don't like that one puck cosmetic. I think it's the tail that makes the orb look all. It makes the orb look like ball lightning, and it bothers me so much
Yeah,
because
yeah.
every time I see it, I think that there's a storm spirit flying through, and then I realize, oh, that's just the puck. Silly me. And then I wonder why it's even possible that I'm confusing two heroes with completely different mechanics.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the spell sound effect definitely helps there. So at least you can hear that part
true.
and kind of get it right in your mind. I can imagine if somebody's playing with music on and muting their game that they're like, "What? Where'd the storm spirit come from?" But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's never actually like resulted in a death or I've done something so silly where I think it's a storm and react completely differently. But I just don't like that. My natural instinct is, oh, there's a storm spirit in this game. No, you silly dog. That's to me, that's where you cross the line in cosmetics. Once you naturally get confused with the way things look. But finally, we're in this game here, Blaze, and over under on how many times I call you Blitz tonight. 2 best of 3s.
Not. I'll say it's under 5. You were pretty good yesterday.
Under 5? Okay. I will agree. I don't think I'll be over 5, but, well, we'll see how it plays out. Both sides with the same initial strategy in mind, a 5-man invade into the enemy jungle. And, of course, both teams with that in mind will not bump into one another, and they'll have free reign of the enemy jungle to throw down wards however they see fit. And I reckon they'll do just that. Net with a couple of observers here, and Boots first on the Sand King, gets one down. Will block the medium camp here. What's the Radiant side up to? They haven't put down any wards yet. Alchemist has himself a sentry and an observer, and looks like he will block the big camp over here with one of the sentries, so that will slow down Net's Sand King just a little bit. Interesting that they prioritize the blocking of the Sand King farming in the jungle over the pole camp for lane control.
Yeah, actually, I would say it's the most important camp for Titan right now. The Western hard camp, the other way to farm up a Sand King with the Sandstorm and such to get his Blink Dagger early, is available for Titan to maybe steal with Anchor Smash and stuff like that. At least he might be able to pull it to the lane. And the fact that that's going to be under his control, whereas the Sand King would like to stay on the eastern front and just continue to stack away and farm that up later. I think that is actually really... One is going to enable Tidehunter to get full experience. The other is going to make it so that Sand King can't pick up his Blink Dagger 5 minutes earlier. So I think one is a little bit more important than the other, given the tempo of this game. Tide will still get his Ravage at a relatively good pace because the Radiant offlane is just so much more efficient.
Yeah, and Net does have a pooled sentry that came his way from Extinct, so he'll recognize this camp doesn't spawn, and maybe he can get lucky with the counter ward. It's a pretty easy ward to find, so things may work out for him after all, and only somewhat slowed down. But let's introduce some rosters here on the Dire side. We've got Team Titan, Tootie, their stand-in, will be in the off lane, playing on the Bristleback. In the mid, it's KYXY on the Naga Siren, and that gives us a safe lane try, Extinct on the Disruptor, Ohio on the Position 1 Razor, and of course, Net on his signature Sand King.
Looking over at Invasion, we're going to be seeing here down on the bottom lane, it is going to be stand-in OK. Going to be running on the Shadow Shaman here. He's going to be supporting up ADTR on his Morphling alongside FCFC, who is the Alchemist for this game. And looking over at the mid, it is going to be Ketchik Imba on the Puck. Null Tele start. So then we got Ghost up on the off lane, as we were mentioning. Boots first on him. He's going to be able to survive quite effectively here with a opener, of course, Kraken Shell and Anchor Smash.
Yep, he's actually holding on to that second point for now. Hasn't grabbed the Anchor Smash, but I reckon he will. It's become the standard for old Tidehunter there. Bristleback seems to be doing okay in the off lane. Pretty comparable to where the Tide is. Both of them are into level 2, and 2D will get some creeps shoved into his tower here so he can secure a few last hits, but he's holding his own against this safe lane tri-lane of Invasion. FZFZ has just been roaming around the jungle, still sitting level 1 on this Alchemist playing the ward game, but will get a sentry down, finds the ward that's blocking their pole camp, and will find some victory finally. But it's cost him some time and did take him a couple sentries.
Yeah, so FCFC is going to have a slow start for himself. Shadow Shaman at least has been leeching from the lane, so he will be able to pack a punch once he gets to level 3 with that Ether Shock. For right now, Tootie's taking some pretty big pounding, but with 6 tangos at his back, he feels rather confident. We'll see the concoction come on through. Can they wait for him for this first blood? Will they commit? No. The Magic Stick used just to keep ADTR back up. He'll salve or Tango back up to full HP, and Tootie will do the same.
Yeah, ADTR could have opted to morph strength and dive it and go for the first blood, but against the Bristleback, always a risky proposition, not the hero you want to man up on under a tower, especially once he's gotten those first few levels, has that value point in Bristleback, and Quills will be flying out aplenty. So ADTR plays it safe, and 3 minutes in, still no first blood on the field. Checking in on the mid lane, seems to be a pretty even exchange between the Naga and the Puck. They're within 1 creep or so of each other. Still just a null tally and a bottle for the Puck, and Naga Siren now has her stick and bottle crowing as well with this cute little Oski the Dragon.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, pretty even here in the mid lane.
Yeah, so, I mean, right now, the fact that they put the Naga Siren on the mid means that, of course, getting solo experience, he'll have his song a lot sooner, and that'll help him out quite a bit. And so far, it hasn't really detrimented his CS. I mean, there's been 4 denies from Ketchik, and obviously melee versus range are going to take a little bit more harassment. But overall, if Titan needs to, they'll rotate towards the mid with the supports, and otherwise, KOXY just bottle crows it up, keeping himself safe from this SCFC Unstable Concoction attempt.
Yep, man. Poor Alchemist, he stuns himself, but well, I guess it doesn't matter too much. He's still just roaming around, looking for opportunities to set up kills, but so far hasn't found much. 4-minute rune will come out. Naga scouts it out with her illusions, and Invasion will commit to the top spawn. Unfortunately for them, it is bottom. Double damage, and Naga Siren will be able to bottle it up. So KYXY gets a small stroke of luck. Okay from the high ground. Looking for the rune to die, but he can't get it.
Yeah, that attack range is not enough, and it's the most annoying thing because you feel like you're so close, but even if you move perfectly, you're not going to be able to do it with a 500 range hero.
Yep. Very unfortunate for Mr. Shadow Shaman. And with that, everyone will just go back to farming. Checking in on the offlaners once again. Tootie about to hit level 5. Ghost still only halfway through level 2, so this seems to be the growing disparity here. The offlaners, Bristleback just having a much better time than the Tide.
Yep. I mean, 2D did commit a lot more to regeneration resources. Like, he brought he knew that he was going to be under some pressure. He buys a magic stick. He's had 2 sets of tangos and a salve and the boots and now the stout shield. But yeah, in this position, he's actually been able to have some face time with Morphling on the lane. It hasn't denied anything, but just in general, he's at least getting the full experience, getting some CS for himself, and looks to be pretty active. Whereas Tidehunter is constantly afraid of getting caught out, and I'm not sure if that's just more respect to what Extinct could do in this Disruptor, or just the fact that the lane control has been much more effective on Titan's side.
Probably a combination of both, but the biggest factor seems to be the lane control. I mean, Tootie hasn't had to try to get experience because it seems every time I look in this lane, there's creeps shoving into his tower. And now they'll get the creep pull back, but
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
I think it's safe to say that the damage has been done, as it were. Bristleback is now about to hit level 6 and moves over to the side shop here, grabs his cloak, and we'll start finding some of those value-effective HP items as he continues to level up. However, the position 1's doing seems to be a pretty even spread. Razor sitting 32 and 16 versus the 30 and 9 Morphling. So they're about on point with one another. Morphling gearing towards a Perseverance for that early Lincolns, and Ohio looking for the early mech on Razor. No one doing anything too out of the ordinary quite yet, Blaze, but Tootie could be in some trouble. On top of the acid spray, takes a concoction from the high ground. Okay with the shackles, but Tootie's just too darn tanky. Level 6 Bristleback, not so easy to bring down, and he'll just walk to safety.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the casual cloak for some great mitigation against what damage the Shadow Shaman puts out. The magic stick will survive against all the spell spam, and then he, of course, has been just making sure his HP stays topped off with those tangos. So in a pretty good position here. I'm curious if he's actually going to go out for like a full Hood of Defiance, maybe into like mid-game type of insight, or if he's just going to pick it up casually to be able to survive more effectively. Combining stacking mitigation with Bristleback and the cloak, he's, like you said, very, very tanky. But I think that there's more to it. I think he's going to go maybe treads into Hood.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a decently timed pipe could be pretty big for Titan in the mid-game here. There's a lot of magic damage that Invasion can put out across the Ravage, Puck, the Shadow Shaman, and even the Alchemist, the Composite. Get a little bit of magic mitigation there. So We'll see how it works out. Net getting a lot of space in the jungle, though. 1,200 gold up on him with his brown boots at the 7-minute mark. He will find some icky mud golems here that'll slow him down a bit, but he's had pretty much free reign of the jungle. I haven't been keeping tabs on his path. Doesn't have any huge stacks right now, but still finding a lot of gold. And at this rate, I think we're looking at about a 10, 11-minute blink, which is right on point for Sand King in the jungle.
Yeah, the mud golems are unfortunate, and that's kind of the risk you take when you stack a medium camp. Is there's always that chance that they'll come out and make your day a little bit worse. But yeah, once he gets a hard camp stack or two, then he's going to be in a good position to have that blink and be very, very active on the map. By comparison to like FCFC, he's a level 3 alchemist with only boots. He has very limited ability to move about, and although wards have expired for Titans, so maybe they can put some more pressure out on the mid, they refresh the one that's towards the top rune, and I think that might give enough understanding of the enemy's positioning for KOXY to play it safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you know, looking at these drafts, I really thought Invasion would have the opportunity to be a lot more aggressive in this laning phase with the Shadow Shaman as well as the Alchemist. Regardless of which lane they rotate to, whether it's the Puck, as soon as he hits level 6 and has a Dream Coil, those 3 heroes should be able to secure a kill. The Naga Siren, not always the easiest target because she has the reset tool in the ultimate now that she's level 7 as well, but they have a lot of crowd controls. If you just walk in with a Shackle and then an Unstable Concoction, plus a Waning Rift after that, that's a lot of time to bring down a relatively squishy Naga Siren. He has picked up a Bracer and a Magic Wand, so not just the Brown Boots Radiance Rush, but there is some kill potential. I even mentioned if Titan can make it through the laning phase without heavy losses, I think they'll be in good shape with this Naga. Here, 7.5 minutes in, we haven't seen a single kill. And Naga's not even going for the Radiance Rush. It's Brown Boots now into a Drum of Endurance, it seems like. So KYXY will delay the Radiance, but that'll give him the opportunity to participate in these mid-game skirmishes if he's so inclined.
Yeah, a little bit more stability in mana and HP. It's a pretty good build-up for him. But the reason why no blood has been spilled yet, I think, is the lack of using the Smoke of Deceit. We've got 2 still in the shop, so the one on Shadow Shaman is the only one they have purchased and the one they have not used. And I'm not sure if that's in part because of the fact that they had so much issues with sentries in their own jungle and getting that pull unlocked and kind of finding their timings, but the bottom line is Shadow Shaman and Alchemist, Alchemist has wandered to the mid once in full vision, and that didn't contribute anything, and now they're split up and can't smoke together. I'm trying to think of why this would be, and the only thing I could think of is they're afraid of the second they are missing too long from the bottom lane, that they're going to find themselves in a 3 versus 3 in the mid lane, where they flank around, they go for the smoke, it can't draw during pause, but they smoke around that top rune area, go in for the flank on to the Dire side, onto the Naga Siren, where she's been positioned and could be killed, but then, of course, the Sand King, the Disruptor, make your life a nightmare.
Yeah, but the sort of ironic thing is you know where Net's going to be. If you don't have eyes on him, you know what he's doing. First 10 minutes, that Sand King's not going to have a Blink Dagger, and his priority is farm, farm, farm. Net's in heaven right now. He doesn't have to participate to keep his teammates safe, so it's a fair point that they do run that risk when they're off the map for so long, but there comes a point where you need to risk it to get the biscuit, as they say. Especially before Naga hits level 6. That's your big window of opportunity with these heroes. Now that window is passed, Song of the Siren's out, and things get a lot more difficult in terms of trying to bring her down. Seems Razor has reconnected, though, and perhaps we can resume before too long. But the other big difference between these position ones of Ohio as well as the Morphling ADTR in the bottom lane is Morphling going for the Lincolns, very standard stuff, but the Razor will come online a lot earlier. So even though they have even farm right now, Razor's going to grab this early mech. He has the chainmail already. He'll be looking to knock down this tower probably earlier than the Morphling will, especially given Shadow Shaman won't be 6 anytime soon. And then we'll see Razor just move around the map and commence the team fighting when Morphling's still trying to get that initial farm on.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Maybe Titan will end up being the aggressors here before Invasion.
Yeah, since it's been so much time, it's undoubted that the Blink Dagger will be coming out pretty soon, and that'll be around level 6, level 7, have plenty of kill opportunity there, so could be definitely first blood on their hands. But going over to the Lincolns on the Morphling, I'm not a big fan of that in this situation. I mean, what you're going to be blocking at best is a Burrow Strike, maybe a Glimpse pulling you out of a bad spot, but he's got so much escape and maneuverability that the only thing you're really risking is getting glimpsed into a static storm. So we're going to see some action here on mid, committing the Dream Coil on the Shackles. I think they can bring down KOXY, but they're being very, very patient about it. And even Puck almost breaking through the smoke. Yeah, he goes for it. So unless KOXY believed it wasn't Invis rune, since nobody has vision on that bottom rune spawn, he probably has revealed the fact there was a smoke, and KOXY is going to be safe and sound.
Yeah, that was an odd smoke from Invasion. They popped it and then almost right away decided, I don't think I really want to do this. And Puck revealed himself. Okay, just headed towards the bottom lane, and that was the end of it. They didn't even cast a single spell. So,
yeah, they didn't even deward. If you look at mid, or actually towards the top respawn right now, they have vision on this Observer Ward, but now the sentry's going to expire, and that free ward is gone.
That's really unfortunate. That's just a little sloppy.
Well, when they're smoked up, they make the decision saying, hey, we won't deward right this second because we want to get the surprise. But as soon as they kind of gave that up, they should have made quick maneuvers over there to get the free one.
Yeah.
Since that was very freshly placed, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here at the 9-minute mark, Naga will complete the Drum of Endurance, again slowing down that Radiance timing, but now Naga, 1100 HP, she's decently tanky, can certainly participate in these fights. Puck trying to pull up for a fast Blink Dagger, 1500 gold on Ketchik, so well on his way, not too far off the mark. Looks like he will go for Blink before Power Tread, so he can be a little more mobile as well. Still, the level of passivity from Invasion is a little bit jarring, to be perfectly frank. Puck now level 8, still haven't seen a single Dream Coil come out. And Puck is one of these heroes that tends to be a little more active in the laning phase. And, you know, if you can get a rune, even not as a rotator, but if supports come his way, I feel like it's odd to see a Puck hold the initial Dream Coil for this long and just sit back and farm, especially against the Naga Siren, who kind of wants this level of passivity. Another sentry will come down. This time they'll get the ward, but it will cost them an extra sentry.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Like, I thought that there would be 3 or 4 kills by this point, just based on what Invasion want to accomplish with this draft, but it just hasn't happened thus far. A couple small opportunities on Bristleback, but he survives, and yeah, now we see some action here on the top rune.
Yep, takes a Burrow Strike and a Riptide from the Naga, but FCFC throws a Concoction, and that will be the
Oh my
end of
gosh,
the
look at
skirmish.
this medium camp just above the rune spawn.
It's a whole Mud Golem family. Oh, man. That's one house I would not want to go to for dinner, man.
That is the worst luck. Ned is just going to be annoyed at this point. So, like, he keeps going over and farming up the single hard camp because he keeps on... I guess I don't know why you would stack the medium camp other than point of convenience, but yeah, unfortunately, he gets the worst case scenario when he does commit to those stacks. So you would love it to just get Centaur spawns every time, but no dice.
I guess there is some bad RNG there, but it's also one of those things, every time you stack it, you run the chance of getting Mud Golems, and then he'll kill the ones that aren't Mud Golems, so he just keeps holding those initial Mud Golems that he gets, so I guess the odds aren't really that ridiculous to end up with a stack full of Mud Golems when you keep clearing it out in such a way, but still kind of ironic to see that camp there with Sand King in the jungle. Ketchik on the Puck will now grab an 11-minute Blink Dagger, so great timing for him on the mid, even though they haven't slowed down the Naga Siren's farm whatsoever. Puck is farming very well. Actually, the last hit leader right now, 68 creep kills under his belt. Pretty darn impressive. About 8 up on the Naga. Naga's still doing just fine in terms of net worth as she now pushes into the tower and sends illusions all over the place. Still hasn't grabbed a point in the ensnare. You'll see some Nagas grab at least one early point in the ensnare to interrupt TPs and just have that that utility and an ensnare, but no, just going straight farming. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Ohio and Extinct putting a lot of pressure on this Tier 1 tower. No glyph available for Invasion. Ghost looking like he may want to make a hold. Ketchik showing off that Blink Dagger, throws the first Dream Coil of the game, only connects onto Ohio. Now Morphling joins the party. They draw the first blood on Disruptor. Ohio gets hexed, and he will take a tumble. It's a 2-for-0 as Invasion commit all 5 heroes to a defense in the top lane.
Yeah, they're probably going to lose the mid as a result with KOXY pushing in pretty hard. Bottom's going to take some hits as well, but those kills were necessary to get the ball rolling. And you have, like, people might say, oh, why'd you commit 5 heroes, all 5 heroes, just to these 2 or 3 heroes? But it's because the Razor got that mechanism up so early. He's very tanky. You have to commit the damage, otherwise that 2-for-0 turns around against you as a 0-for-2. Now we see KOXY and Ketchigemba dueling it out, but with the haste rune, Puck will be able to evade, not able to reinitiate those. The Naga has healed up quite a bit. He's tried, but yeah, that is a lot of HP back on KOXY now, and he has the full 15 charges of Magic Wand as well.
Yep. Puck did secure a deny on that Tier 1 tower in the mid lane. Very nicely played by Ketchik. But unfortunately for Invasion, it'll be in vain as Titan press in the top lane. And they will secure this tower, but it gets denied.
Nice.
ADTR with the last hit. And that's 2 towers back-to-back denied by Invasion. Big plays coming out and mitigating their losses against Team Titan, though. Small victories here as it's already about a 2,500 gold, over 3,000 experience lead for Titan, despite being down 0-2 in hero kills.
Yeah, there is a lot of potential gold on the side of Invasion, though. If we look at the Ancient stack here, Tide is now level 5. He is almost to a point where he can efficiently farm this up. Needs one more point in Kraken Shell. For some reason, went for the Gush, and I guess that's to get a little bit more kill potential, which they were lacking, obviously, before. But once he gets a little bit more Kraken Shell, a little bit more Anchor Smash, then he is going to be able to indeed farm up those Ancients and get a ton of golden experience that they've been stocking up on. And also, there's a couple stacks in the jungle, but if Naga Siren finds those out, that might actually go the other way.
Yeah, now down bottom, Titan will group up once further, and this bottom tier 1 tower, the last remaining for Invasion, will take some pressure. The creeps do get cleared up as they skip the wave. Naga with some illusions being pesky here as Puck cleans it up. The tower will fall, and now they're looking for the initiation. Puck gets caught by a Burrow Strike. Plasma Field as well as a Static Link will be more than enough to bring down the Fairy Dragon, and Titan secure their first kill of the game, followed by a tower. KYXY gets the last hit, 2,100 gold up on the Naga, and he is well on his way to the Sacred Relic as Titan regains some lost footing.
Yeah, absolutely. In this position, they just need a couple of kills to kind of speed them on their way. Naga Siren currently at 2,200. It looks like, yeah, they just found that stack, and Tootie's going to take care of that, no problem at all. Riptide and Quill Sprays, and that's a triple or quad stack going their way. So experience spread amongst them. They get the Epicenter up and available for Net now, and he will find one more stack. Just scouting it out and sandstorming it down.
Yep, so Net now level 8. He's showing off that Blink Dagger there. He is in pretty good shape, can farm very effectively, and we'll see him just continue to be active, probably looking to set up kills in some sort of sneaky position, hiding in the trees. Bristleback straight into the Hooded Defiance after Power Treads. We talked about it earlier on, but it looks like he will be, in fact, rushing a pipe. Extinct, still just on brown boots. KYXY now, 2,800 gold, 1K away from the Relic. And as we mentioned previously, the mech is up on Razor. Now, going probably towards an Ags, an Ogre Club for now. Could also just be a BKB. You'll see most Razors opt for the point booster first if they're going for the Ags, but the more ambiguous Ogre Club could also just be to keep Invasion on their toes. Possibly a bit of indecision from Ohio as well. We'll see him in some trouble. Oh, it's an Ohio sandwich. OK comes in, opens with the Hex, even commits wards for this. There's the stun from Alchemist, and Puck joins the party as well. Dream Coil committed as Ohio forced to use the mech. They do bring him down. OK takes a lot of damage from it, though, and it's almost a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, pretty close, but they had to commit 2 ultimates just to bring that guy down. It was an exaggerated flank around, and they would have completely missed him if not for the Observer Ward they had towards that top rune spot. He kind of wandered out. They're like, okay, let's smoke back this direction, and they do end up finding him with a very extensive flank. But now Net comes in, just scaring him, but with the silence, the Ravage coming out, Net's going to go down. Yeah, so this is, again, a huge commitment, but since they already used the Serpent Wards, it's not like they're going to go for a 5v5 anytime soon. So they go ahead, they get the rest of the stuff on cooldown, that way it'll all be up around the same time, and they get another kill for their trouble.
Yeah, Net just underestimating the amount of forces still lingering about the top lane there, so it ends up being kind of a feed, but end of the day, it's just to support Sand King, and he does pull out the Ravage. So Titan will feel very safe for at least the next 2 minutes or so farming around the map without any of those big ultimates available. KYXY, 3,500 gold, and level 11. So Song of the Siren takes that first big jump down from 3 minutes to a 2-minute cooldown, and he can be a bit more liberal with his use of the massive reset tool. Still a pretty quiet game, only 5 kills in 17 minutes here. Game 1 of the best of 3. This is just a lot more passive than the games we saw yesterday, Blaze.
Yeah, very, very passive indeed, and that's absolutely favors Titan. Being able to just drag this out, they want as little bit of action as possible. Maybe an Epicenter combo going in pretty soon, but that's like, you don't really want to worry about the Morphling at this stage, because like I said, the Lincoln Sphere isn't a threat. He gets that, you just pop your Bristleback's Q, and he's got it taken care of. Nice Static Storm, just silence him, but he gets out of it. Oh, the glimpse, pulling him back in. What a nice maneuver there by Extinct.
There you go. They were ready and prepared for that. I was about to hop to the Replicate, and there you go. So, well played, Disruptor, well timed. And they secure the kill on the Morphling. 2-4. Titans still trailing by a couple of hero kills, but they will pressure this bottom tier 2. Puck hops in with an Illusory Orb for some harassment, but won't be enough to repel the push, at least not yet. Glyph comes out. Invasion with reinforcements on the way. 2D on the high ground, back turned, ready to throw out the quills, but this is what we talked about. Ravage on cooldown for another 40 seconds. Rasta wards are up, but he needs to get in position. Net hops forward, Burrow strike onto Kesha Kimba.
Radiant's top tower
And we'll
is
use
under
the phase
attack.
shift already. Ohio comes forward. Static Link as they glimpse back the puck. And they will secure this kill as he pops out of the phase shift. Nowhere for him to go. 2D takes a hex, but so aggressive right now, trying to zone out invasion. His efforts will be successful as the tower falls. Ohio grabs the last hit. And Titan will back up, happy with their spoils. Naga Siren now 500 gold away from the Radiants.
Yeah. There was a period of time where Tidehunter kind of seemed like he was the end-all be-all of offlaners once he got that Anchor Smash buff against Ancients, but so many teams have remembered how to play against him once more, and knowing that timing, knowing to fight when it is on cooldown, it allows them to get so much more off the map. Taking that tier 2 for the team gives them so much. Epicenter will come out from net on the bottom lane. FCFC drop it low, but the Ravage in turn.
Oh, man. Once again, Ravage just for a solo net kill, but needed right there for him to survive. Alchemist with the Chemical Rage on, he'll completely regenerate through. A noble effort from net, but it's a Sand King versus the world. If he had a little bit of support with him, certainly could have been some kills, but not the damage necessary to grab a solo kill with the Epicenter.
Yeah, he was just looking to take advantage of the fact that he was able to hide in the tree line there, catch somebody off guard just a little bit with the creep wave in that position. But it doesn't work out that way. He will have to a quick timeout to think about what he's done. But otherwise, he'll be back in at committing Blink Burrows until his ulti is back off CD. In the meantime, Sure?
No, I would say, to be fair, though, I mean, Ravage for just a solo Sand King really isn't ideal for Invasion. Using these big cooldowns just to pick off supports is kind of crippling their aggressive potential when they need it, and also their ability to defend towers. Knowing that Ravage is on cooldown for another 90 seconds, Titan could group up and potentially try to force another team fight.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think that if we're talking about who was more justified in what they did, the Sand King was a little bit more for the potential compared to the Tidehunter for the cost, because of the fact that he did commit that giant cooldown. And like you said, this is the time they need to be active, because with that tier 2 tower kill, everybody on the side of Titan was put into a commanding position as far as item progression. Naga Siren finishes up the Radiance. Of course, the Razor is progressing towards that BKB to counteract a number of major spells from Invasion. And Bristleback has that Pipe of Insight. So at this point, Teamfight is the name of the game for Titan, and Invasion just don't have anything. Even with this tower kill getting Morphling the Linked Sphere, like, they still aren't in an active position unless they absolutely outplay their opponents.
Yeah, and Titan are grouped up in the mid, pressuring this tier 2 tower. 2D will get initiated upon, takes a stun, and the Medallion breaks some of his armor as he spams out those quills. Net gets the pipe, and now they'll go in onto the Shadow Shaman. 2D secures the kill, and he's on the run. They'll try to chase him down, but they won't find him as he TPs home. Will he make it? Anchor Smash, not enough. Bristleback survives. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, FZFZ connects with a 2-man stun on the Concoction, but the follow-up isn't there. And Bristleback, well, just makes it a 1-for-0 exchange as he regenerates up in the base.
Yep, and they tried to cancel the TP with the Dream Coil just a moment too late, so that was quite costly indeed. And now these illusions are spreading across the map. Now, Naga Siren gets to kind of put her tendrils out there, do a little bit of harassment to the heroes on the mid lane, and yeah, with the Epicenter back up, there's no reason for them not to just go for it once again. They'll do a little bit of slow siege with Ohio on the front lines here, and Net will be the one waiting in the wings, waiting for that opportunity to just obliterate Invasion if they cluster up too much.
And Morphling suffers from kind of a similar syndrome that Naga Sirens can suffer from, where you get that first core item and it seems like, wow, look at that net worth, he has so much value, but the Lincolns is just the start. This is where Morphling has a baseline of stats that he needs to farm and be active in these team fights, but he still isn't particularly scary. The difference is the Radiance will let Naga farm a lot more quickly than the Lincoln Sphere will let Morphling farm. He doesn't have a farm accelerator, so the longer this game goes on, the wider that gap between the Naga and Morphling will become. And of course, Naga can also do a lot of damage with that Radiance. Just throw illusions out, and that burn will really hurt this Rasta as well as this Puck, and maybe not the Alchemist quite so much, but the burn does damage. The Lincolns is just the starting point for Morphling, and ADTR still is hitting like a bit of a wet noodle, and even the burn is chipping him down a bit as this Naga Siren Illusion pulls out an Adaptive Strike.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Morphling's items are not going to allow him to be offensive for quite some time. I would have preferred to see a different build-up, maybe go for the Slasher build-up where you go Aquila, an extra Wraithbane, and then go into the Ethereal Blade very early on, or maybe he could have gone something like a Manta or a BKB to deal with the Disruptor lockdown. But this Lincoln, if 2D gets in range for the Viscous Nasal Goo, I think it becomes a worthless item. It's very casual as far as stats and restoratives that you could get from other resources just as easily. So It's unfortunate, but the important thing is he can farm very actively now. He can't fight actively unless they get a perfect Ravage or Coil setup, but even still, ADTR is much more confident as far as pushing out these lanes as long as he's got a TP scroll on top.
Is that really true about Lincoln's? I thought it was a pretty good bang for the buck in terms of the stats and regeneration it gives you in a single item slot. Not too many other items give you that same amount other than like Bloodstone or something, but that's a much more expensive endeavor. We'll hold that thought for just a second as Ohio up in the top lane gets initiated on. The waning rift from Puck, almost enough to bring him down, but Extinct is there with a kinetic field static storm. They'll turn it around onto Keshik, and it's a 1-0 the other way. It's not over yet. Net comes in, interrupts the TP from the Shadow Shaman, and they'll grab 2 as Titan grab a lot more momentum and set their sights on the top Tier 2 tower.
Yeah. In general, Ultimate Orb type items are extremely effective on heroes that can utilize all 3 statistics, and Morphling is definitely one of those heroes, so I don't complain about it in that regard. It's just, it's not something that says, okay, oh no, he has a Lincoln, now we have to play against it completely differently. It's, we have what we want, okay.
Ravage up top, connects on 5. Where's the follow-up damage, though? Keshikimba's rejoining the party. He buys back, secures the kill on the Razor. Now Ghost in trouble as the kinetic field locks him in place. FZ getting aggressive. Maybe biting off more than he can chew, but no, it's Titan on the back foot, and they'll make the retreat. Concoction charging up, nowhere to throw it, but they find Net. Waveform as well as the Illusory Orb enough to secure the kill, and it's a double kill for Keshik. A worthy buyback on the Puck as Titan do get repelled, and this Tier 2 tower stands.
Yeah, I wasn't realizing that they would commit that much to it, but with that Puck buyback available and not being that expensive at this stage in the game, it was definitely the right maneuver to make sure that they don't lose even more ground with that Tier 2 tower on the top lane. So they do get the Replicant on the Naga Siren to do the Radiance damage, and they were able to finish off one more hero as they track them down. So very nice maneuver. We'll see if they can take the Tier 1 here in mid on top of that, but it looks like Titan want to contest it.
Yep, the tower will fall. Wards will be enough to bring it down. Shadow Shaman secures the last hit. Glimpse back on the Morphling. Right into a static storm. Kinetic field. They've got the stuns and the damage. Can they bring him down? Yes, they will. 2D secures it on the Bristleback.
Oh, look at the Song.
Now Song of the Siren set up by KYXY on the remaining 4. Do they have the damage to secure these kills and take a team wipe? A lot of damage coming out, but they can't focus fire. FZ does get caught in the ensnare. They'll bring him down. A 2-0. Blink out from the Tide. He'll be okay. And speak of the devil, OK himself will survive, and as will the Puck. So decent Delta split from Invasion, but they do lose their position 1 in the Morphling. Tier 2 tower in the mid, backdoor protection will keep it alive, and Titan will have to retreat and at least rendezvous with the creeps before they secure that tower if they go for it.
Yeah, they're going to go for Roshan now. They do have the Medallion on the Disruptors as well as Bristlebacks, Viscous Nasal Goo, so that should be pretty easy for them to bring it down, especially now that they got the DD spawn on the 26-minute mark. So this is going to be easy pickings for them. No threat from the Tide for 30 seconds. And from there, if you get an Aegis on a hero like Razor, who loves to be active on the front line, yeah, he only has 1 BKB, but he uses it on the life that counts, and the Eye of the Storm ticks away the entire time. So I'm expecting big things to come out of this Aegis of the Immortal, and it might be the straw that broke the camel's back, since Invasion just cannot contest this.
Yeah, 7,500 gold and experience in favor of Team Titan, so they've got a pretty darn sizable lead. Bristleback now with an Ogre Club, so he's tanking up a bit more as well. Sand King hanging on to an Ogre Club. BKBs aplenty coming out for Team Titan, and that should be the name of this game. We talked about a lot of magic damage on Invasion, so a pipe plus BKBs completed in the mid game here will be rough for Invasion. Ketchik in some trouble. Does hop to the orb. Net looking for the Bro Strike. Falls short onto the Puck, but does connect onto Ghost. Ravage on 3. The pipe's already been used. Mitigates a lot of the damage. There's the Static Storm Kinetic Field. FZ stuns himself. He can't throw the concoction through the silence. And it's disastrous for Invasion. There's your Epicenter from Net. Enough to secure the kill on the Fairy Dragon. And it's a 3-for-1 as the Razor gets taken down. But he was the Aegis carrier. He'll come right back. And now they'll finish off the Shadow Shaman. Invasion just crumbling under the pressure here, Blaze, as Titan, well, they just dominate. No other way to say it.
Yeah, BKB 10 plus Aegis. The Ohio's happy to just go in as deep as possible and be extremely, extremely aggressive. And Invasion, they got the perfect Ravage, but it just wasn't enough. At this stage, they don't have the damage follow-through. They've got a lot of great disables, but like half their damage is like amplified by Acid Spray. It's like, okay, well, you're ticking away gradually. You're getting good Serpent Ward damage, but it's not like going to 100-0 any of the heroes. So they got the Razor. That's all they could really take away from it. And now they're going to lose a lot more. No Ravage. They're going to lose Tier 2 and perhaps High Ground as well. We'll see what Titan do.
Yeah, and at this point, Naga is just getting out of control. 3,000 gold on KYXY. He just picked up the Yasha, going for the build you talked about. After the Radiance, right into BOTs, presumably a Manta coming next to help him deal with the silence, and also just get more illusions on the field. Manta, a very good item on the Naga Siren, just in general, not only in the context of breaking silences and the waning rift. Titan will finish off the last remaining outer tower. KYXY with the Song of the Siren on 4. Here's the setup. Razor right in the midline, and the Static Storm Kinetic Field combo from Disruptor once again. Tidehunter the first to fall, Alchemist shortly after. The AoE damage from Titan is too much, and I think it won't be too far off at GG at this point, as Invasion seem to have nothing to deal with the teamfight presence of Titan.
Not much more to say about it. They're going in, very easily taking down this tier 3 tower, and there is just absolutely nothing that Invasion could do to hold this position. They'll commit some ultimates here. They might be able to do something, but so far it's just been Titan all game long. 15-7 right now with the greedy lineup, with the ones that have much more scaling towards the mid to late game, but they're ending it here and now with the 30-minute mark.
Yeah. Well, they back out before the range racks fall, but they got what they came for. Melee racks go down, and they'll play this one safe. No reason to overcommit. They know they're leagues ahead, and this Naga Siren is continuing to grow at pretty much an exponential rate. KYXY now level 16, has that Song of the Siren down to 1 minute once it cools down, so he can be even more aggressive with setting up those initiations and making Disruptor's life that much easier. It's pretty much the best case scenario for a Disruptor when you can have that perfectly placed Static Storm Kinetic Field on top of the Song of the Siren. So Titan will just go back to farming. Now 5,000 gold on KYXY. I feel like every time I click on this hero, he's got thousands more gold than he did just moments prior. With that, Aghanim Scepter now out on the Razor.
No, it's just the full illusion play breaking out, not only dominating as far as taking structural damage away from Invasion and taking down that Rax, but he has just been farming like a madman. 271 CS while participating in just about every fight. He deserves every penny that he has acquired to this point, and it looks like it is going to be I'm not actually sure if this is going to be a Lincoln's or a Scotty here for the Naga Siren, but maybe won't even get the chance to see it, as we do see the pick off on the puck, and although he does have buyback, it's a costly one. They are going to be able to just run them down in a short time.
Yep, looks like it. Pucks, are you talking about the Ultimate Orb on Puck?
Actually, KYXY just picked a second one up. He got the Mantis Tail finished, and then he grabbed another one.
Oh, man, maybe it is a Scotty. I was going to say Scotty Puck. I think it's more likely a Scythe, but I see what you're talking about. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's an okay item on Naga. It's certainly a luxury item, not one you see come out too often, but we'll let him tank up, and that means Invasion won't be running away from him. Eye of the Storm popped, and now this tier 3 tower in the bottom lane taking heavy damage. Alchemist with a stun on Tootie. Has the minus armor from the acid spray, so a little bit of extra there, but this tower just gets melted. They do have a glyph, but Morphling's not even here. Does he have a replicate down somewhere? Yeah, it looks like he does right in the middle, but the replicate expired, and he'll be forced to TP home. Picks up his BKB now. I just don't think that's going to be enough. Even if Morphling manages to survive, he just doesn't do any damage at this point.
Yeah, that's the concern, is even if he goes full Agi right now, his items are too invested in durability, and so he's not going to be able, like, Ravage, the great concoctions have been coming through, the Dream Coil, it's all to set up damage that they don't have, and that's not changing.
I mean, this Rax has already fallen. Invasion popped the glyph, but they just can't contest. Now they'll go forward. Even if they win this fight, the damage has been done. Song of the Siren stops Ghost dead in his tracks, looking for the Ravage, but he just can't get it off. There's your Static Storm Kinetic Field, and it's a massacre, a catastrophe, if you will, in the Radiant base. It's a 3-0. The GGs are finally called, and Titan secure a win in Game 1 of this best-of-3 series, 19-7 in 32 minutes of gameplay.
Very impressive display by Titan. This is why we say that they're not going to be brought down by anything less than a gimmick. Like, they, as far as just raw execution in their strategies, they are the top tier of SEA right now, and they're showing it 100% in Game 1. I still think Invasion have a good chance in Game 2, but they have got to get their heads in the game, because after a loss like that, it is very easy to just succumb to overwhelming emotions of just being unavailable, impossible to assail this team. Like, Titan is so strong, and I think the biggest aspect of what we saw here was not only how effectively they avoided deaths for the first 8 minutes of the game, but the lane control. That really is what it comes down to for me, because the Bristleback was able to get so much farm out of his lane, and the Tidehunter got absolutely nothing. And It's one of those things that you can't afford to let happen. If Bristleback actually becomes a relevant fighting force and Tidehunter does not for an extended period of time, then where do you really go from there? And that's really comes down to the way they utilize the pull camp.
Yep, I completely agree with you. It just seemed like Invasion played that way too passive, considering the lineup of the opposition and the heroes that they had. Gave that Naga Siren of KYXY way too much space, and of course, he got out of control. Invasion will have an opportunity to bring it back. They're now 1 game away from elimination here in this qualifier in Titan. Inversely, 1 game away from making it into the finals. I'm Zyori. Joining me remotely is Blaze. Thanks for joining us on BTS for World Esports Championship coverage. We'll be right back with Game 2 of this best-of-3 series.